Hey, how's it going? Sons of Queens here, talking about the social dilemma, part six of our 11-part series, talking about addiction and this social thing. So, before we go into any of this, and Michael's going to give us the Merriam-Webster definition real soon. If you have an addiction issue, please consult a licensed professional. We're not able to help you with that. This is for entertainment purposes only. We don't know what we're talking about half the time, and don't take us seriously. If you have a psychological issue, contact your own psychiatrist, psychologist. Whatever help you need, please go get it. Don't count on us to give you anything in regards to addiction.
Yeah, this is
Uh,
not meant to be advice for anyone.
right, right. So, Michael, take it away.
So, Merriam-Webster dictionary defines addiction as a compulsive, chronic, physiological, or psychological need. So, it's a need for a habit forming substance, behavior, or activity, having harmful physical, psychological, or social effects, and typically causing well defined symptoms such as anxiety, irritability, tremors, or nausea upon withdrawal or abstinence.
So, there's a few things that already pop in my mind. One is I'm not here to bash Facebook. I'm not here. I love Facebook. I like Twitter kind of. Like I kind of use it. And I love YouTube. I really love YouTube. And I'm not trying to bash it, but what this movie's getting at is basically these companies hired the masters of addiction, psychologists, psychiatrists, and they're following the same tactic as cigarette companies. Is that what they're doing? My misunderstanding?
Um, their
To
main
get
kind of psychological underpinning comes from the subconscious and people's subconscious need, like their need for safety, for food, for comfort, for mates, for belonging. So basically, I mean that's advertising, right? They tell you, hey, if you don't have this stuff, you're not going to be happy, or
right.
or it's more like buy this stuff and you'll be happy. And the implication is there is that like you'll never be happy unless you'll buy this stuff.
It's interesting because it's like you were talking about this about like gambling and other stuff. Can you elaborate? Like you were saying like something about like there's addiction for like gambling, there's addiction for like
Yeah, I think definitely internet usage falls under the definition of addiction, or can, obviously not everybody that uses the internet is addicted to it, but I do think that the internet is um, can cause addiction. It can cause this need. Just going back to the definition, it can cause this need for habit forming behavior or activity, which is harmful.
so like
Just like
oh,
video games, just like television.
right. It's like people know that smoking is bad, right? Because you can measure like, hey, nicotine, tar, lung cancer, or drinking to being addicted to drugs is bad, or alcohol is bad because you can get liver cancer. With social media, so many people use it, right? And so many people spend so many hours on it. At what point do we were like, yo, this is probably bad?
I guess that's something everybody has to decide for themselves. If they're at a point where they realize I really can't get off of this stuff, if I try to like not sign into Facebook for a couple of days, I'm not able to, then I'd probably say that classifies as an addiction.
Yeah, it's like I feel like they definitely talk about like if you get a like, you feel good, right? Or you get a like it's like a dopamine rush. So it's like a psychological thing, right? And people are addicted to that dopamine reward system in the brain, right? But you get that like super often with social media, right? Like you
Yeah,
get a like, you're
boom,
like,
boom, accelerated.
well, so please,
And optimize the dopamine rushes, optimized like they go into uh, in the documentary, they go into how basically they do this thing called A/B testing, where
right,
they'll just change like a tiny component of a user interface to a certain shape or a certain color and see if that increases user activity. And just based on that evidence, they could tell that people like it more. Hence, it's providing them more satisfaction, more of those, neurotransmitters are being fired, and they incorporate that into their interface. So that's where in the movie they say we're like guinea pigs. They're constantly rolling out experiments to see how much more time we can spend on our phones and on the internet.
That's actually interesting because like they're they're really getting into like the nitty gritty because the more the whole business model is like the more you use it, the more they know about you, right? The more money they make, right? So kind of like any consumable product, like casinos and gambling and smoking and drinking, like they need you to use it in order for them to build revenue, but they have to do it in a massive scale because every user doesn't generate really that much revenue now. Like you like if I go buy a beer, they'll make a buck out of like $1 out of me, right? For that every beer. But I don't know how much money they'll make out of me per like moment I spend on Facebook, right? So they really have to make people use it on a very large scale. Like there's a lot more people that are on Facebook than drink beer, I would imagine, or a lot more people on Facebook than smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, I would say
I would assume, but I could be wrong, right?
some people do all three at once.
That too, right? So there's an interesting thing that the social dilemma is bringing is that are they implying or are they saying like, hey, these companies are causing addiction, these things are causing addiction bad? Like, is that the deliberate message?
We can both agree that they're intentionally causing the dopamine rush. They want you coming back, coming back, coming back. And it's habit forming and it can lead to addiction. And now, one of the key hallmarks of addiction is it leads to harm. And that goes again with the overall theme I was kind of thinking of, which is like not what is the problem, but, why is it dangerous? Why is social media dangerous? So I guess we could talk about how does addiction to social media cause harm to people's lives?
What do you think the answer to that is?
Um, I think it's depends for all kinds of. It's different for everybody. Like you always hear the stereotype of like the traditional family
Right.
sitting at home for dinner, and all the kids are on their phones, and the parents are on like their work emails and stuff. So there's no actual.
I think that's recent, right? Because we remember a time before that,
Oh yeah,
but
I
we
think
still had regular over-the-air TV. So and we had Nintendo or PlayStation or whatever it was. Like I'd rather play video games than talk to my family as often.
Oh my god, it's terrible.
I know.
I'll edit that out if you want me to. Hold on, what's the timestamp on
Oh,
it?
you don't have to edit that out. No, guys, this is all under joking. Good touch. At some point,
Five controller behind you?
what happened?
Is that a PlayStation 5 controller behind you?
No, this is a uh Nintendo Switch Pro controller, Super Smash Brothers edition, because
Oh,
I love Super Smash Brothers. I wish I could get a PS5, but they're sold out and they're like 5 times the price on eBay.
that's an awesome controller.
It is an awesome controller. It's amazing. So back to I was just joking about that, by the way, just to clarify the whole video games thing. So we don't have to edit because we want to do honest work for the audience.
Yeah, so what's the harm? What's the harm?
Uh, I think the harm gets to the point where like I know people with gambling addictions, right? And they live in Atlantic City and they can't afford anything. Like they get money from their kids and they get like money anywhere, right? And they're like, yo, I'm gonna play this game for $20. Like I'm gonna play this hand of Spanish 21 for 20 bucks, right? And then they'll just keep playing hand after hand after hand. And every time they win, they're like, yes. And then they take those winnings and they play again because they want to keep racking the wins, right? But overall they lose. So I feel like if it gets to a point where like if I'm on Facebook so often, like 24/7, where I don't sleep, I don't eat, I don't shower, I don't do anything, I don't see anyone, and people call me, I'm like, yo, talk to me on Facebook, otherwise I'm not talking to you. I think that might be a problem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it's very important to see like how whether or not it's detrimental to your life. I think that's like one of the hallmarks, like one of the definitions you were mentioning, right? About addiction.
Yeah, it has to be harmful.
Because like I think about it, like people can be obsessed with stuff and be productive. Like we have professional gamers out there, but then there's like a gaming disorder, right? But then you have professional gamers that make a career out of it, take care of their families and do stuff. Or like people that are obsessed with, let's say, playing basketball. All they do is play basketball and train for it. But then they're professional athletes and they're making millions of dollars. And
And those
they're
are considered like healthy addictions.
yeah. So I feel like are we talking about whether or not you there might be a healthy addiction to Facebook? Like what if you're a programmer for Facebook, right? And you gotta you work for Facebook and all you do is use Facebook sleep Facebook and program Facebook and we call that an addiction, or we just say like, maybe someone just really into that, right?
Yeah, but the thing is, they intentionally make it so you behave that way in the way it's designed. It's almost like when they make drugs, like with the opiate crisis, there's more
Right.
and more powerful opiates.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, where they're making more and more powerful drugs on these social media platforms. I mean, that's a pretty loose analogy.
You think at some point the government's going to come in and be like, we're going to classify this as addiction and
So
like
that's actually what I was thinking. Would you support a legislation for electronic devices?
I
And
might run for president one day, so I'm not sure if I can answer that question yet.
well, not support, but let me just ask you your general thoughts of requiring a warning inside of electronic devices and on websites.
Which is actually funny because when you play video games, right? You buy video games, they have like a seizure warning, like epilepsy, like people with epilepsy might get it, right? Or like or like there are some types of warnings and cautions. So I feel like yeah, they might be like a caution if you sign up on Facebook and the government goes warning a certain number or percent of the population might get really addicted and become habit forming. I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think that like I don't have a feeling either way right now, but I don't picture it as out of the question at some point. People are like, hey, maybe we should put a label on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. I love all three, by the way. I use all three platforms, just heads up. And they go, hey, warning, using our platform might be addictive and you might ruin yourself.
Yeah, and then they have like a little website, a government website, where you could go for more information or resources.
Which is interesting because like technology itself already has warning labels, right? Like there's a lot of tech that already has warning labels. So I don't think it's out of the question, right? Like even bags is like, be careful of little kids, they might suffocate, right? Or like toys, like with choking parts, right? Like it's not out of the blue to have those labels and disclaimers or disclosures, you know? And I think that's maybe something that they want to, the social dilemma wants to like point out. You feel like this documentary was like a PS public service announcement for addiction, social network addiction.
Not just addiction, for a lot of different things.
You think so?
Yeah, for geopolitical landscapes, for mental health, kind of social structures, basic day-to-day decision making. I think that what one thing they did good is really explore as much as they can all the different areas in life,
Okay.
media impacts. I don't think they just said, oh, it's just this and this and this. They really gave a broad view.
Right. So it's definitely interesting. I mean, that's what this particular topic is this segment that we're doing is just basically addiction, but it's going to be interesting when we talk about the other stuff in our other topics too,
Mhm.
like the growth hacking, the mental health, the false information slash tribalism, population control, solution to all this. It's going to be interesting.
The buzzer just rang, but that's actually the harm that we're going to be talking about. These next few episodes are going to be talking about like the harm that this addictive behavior on social media platforms and the internet can
Yeah.
create for people.
All
And
right.
it's pretty.
Join us next time.
All right, folks. We'll see you in a bit. Subscribe, like, comment. If not, we love you anyway. Take care.
Exactly. I love you either way. If you don't like me and you hit don't like, at least you kind of know of our channel to hit don't like. So we appreciate you. Okay. All right.